There is a moment in life that comes to you only once, a moment when your old self begins to die quietly, and the person you were is forced to make way for who you are truly meant to become. You might feel strange, restless, or even afraid, but that discomfort is not a sign of failure. It's a signal that transformation is knocking at your door, inviting you to step into a life that feels more real, more aligned, and more alive than anything you have experienced before. So, are you willing to face the parts of yourself that must end, or will you turn back to the comfort of the old version you've always known? Transformation begins with what Carl Jung called psychological death, a moment so subtle yet so profound that most people never recognize it until it shakes their entire sense of self. This isn't about the death of your body or even your external circumstances. It's about the death of the psychological structures, thought patterns, and ego-based habits that no longer serve your path toward growth and wholeness. You may not notice it immediately, but your unconscious mind often signals this change long before your conscious mind understands it. Strange feelings may appear, a sense of being lost, unexplained sadness, irritability, or sudden bouts of anxiety that seem to come from nowhere. These emotions are not random. They are your inner self nudging you to wake up, to pay attention to what is outdated and no longer fits the evolving version of who you are meant to become. You may feel disconnected from routines that once gave you comfort, from work or relationships that no longer resonate, or from hobbies and passions that used to excite you. Everything familiar may begin to feel constrictive, as if you are wearing a shirt that no longer fits, suffocating your chest and restricting your movement. This discomfort is not a punishment. It is a sign that your inner self is preparing you for something greater. Jung believed that this type of psychological death is not a one-time event, but a process, often unfolding gradually, signaling that your old ego must dissolve to make space for the new self to emerge. The strange signals rising from your unconscious, the restlessness, the unease, the sudden emotional surges, are actually the language of transformation. They are chaotic only because they are breaking the structures that have long kept you safe but limited your growth. And while it may feel frightening, this is the exact moment where evolution begins, where you are invited to leave behind the outdated version of yourself and step into a new phase of life filled with deeper understanding, greater authenticity, and uncharted possibilities. You are not breaking, you are becoming. Alongside the subtle signs of transformation, you may begin to feel a wave of inexplicable anxiety that seems to have no clear source. This anxiety is not caused by something outside of you. It arises from within, the internal collapse of familiar structures and routines that have long defined your sense of security. Your body might feel constantly tense, stretched, as if a tightly wound string is on the verge of snapping, and even small events can trigger disproportionate reactions. You may notice restlessness creeping into moments that used to feel calm, or an underlying unease that colours every interaction and decision. It is as though your unconscious mind is shaking the foundations of the old ego, sending signals that everything comfortable and familiar is shifting. You might try to rationalise this anxiety, to tell yourself that there is no real danger, yet your emotions will not be silenced. Jung described these moments as essential signals of transformation, a kind of internal earthquake that precedes the construction of a new self. This anxiety is actually a marker of growth, indicating that the old patterns are breaking down and space is being created for something entirely new. Rather than resisting it, you are invited to pay attention to the sensations, to witness them without judgment. Notice how the tension in your body aligns with the chaotic movements of the mind, and understand that this is the language your unconscious uses to push you toward change. The moment may feel uncomfortable, even alarming, but it is a necessary step in the journey of psychological evolution. Every pulse of unease is like a signal flare, pointing to the areas of your life and psyche that are ready to transform. In embracing this anxiety, observing it without fear, you begin to learn the rhythm of your own internal transformation and prepare to move beyond the old self into a more liberated, authentic existence. This is not weakness. It is the beginning of courage, the subtle announcement that you are about to grow in ways your old self could never imagine. Another very typical sign of transformation is the deep sense of emptiness you may start to feel toward the things that once brought you joy or excitement. Activities that used to energize you now seem hollow, as if the spark that once made them meaningful has quietly faded. Goals you worked tirelessly toward might suddenly feel irrelevant or insignificant, leaving you questioning the very purpose behind your actions. You continue to move through daily routines, fulfilling responsibilities, and ticking off tasks, yet there is no real sense of meaning, no inner satisfaction or alignment with who you truly are. This is not laziness, nor is it a sign of burnout in the traditional sense. It is the natural collapse of an old value system that no longer resonates with your evolving self. Carl Jung believed that when the soul is preparing to move into a new stage of life, old desires and attachments naturally fade, much like the ashes left behind after a fire has consumed what is no longer needed. You might notice that familiar sources of comfort, pleasure, or motivation suddenly feel distant, leaving a quiet emptiness in their place. This emptiness is not something to fear. It is a signal from your unconscious mind that your old ego structures are dissolving, making room for a new, more authentic self to emerge. Many people may try to pull you back with familiar advice, urging you to focus on what used to make you happy. But how can you return to something your inner being has already moved beyond? How can you love again what existed only to serve a version of yourself that no longer exists? This emotional void is a profound message. It is the unconscious whispering that a chapter has ended and a new one is ready to begin. Embracing this emptiness allows you to release old attachments, gain clarity about what truly matters, and step forward into a life guided by deeper purpose and alignment with your authentic self. It is uncomfortable, yet it is exactly what signals the arrival of genuine psychological transformation. Many people around you may notice the subtle shifts occurring within you and instinctively try to pull you back toward the familiar patterns of the past. They offer well-meaning advice. Focus on what used to make you happy. Return to the routines and comforts that once brought joy, or hold on to the goals and relationships that defined your previous sense of self. On the surface, their words may seem helpful, yet deep inside, you already feel a quiet resistance, a knowing that your inner being has moved beyond those old comforts. This is not rebellion. It is an essential signal that you are outgrowing what no longer serves your soul. You may experience a peculiar numbness, a sense of disconnection from things that once mattered, and this can feel unsettling or even frightening. However, this sensation is not a void to fill with old habits or forced enthusiasm. It is the unconscious whispering that a chapter of your life has ended. The goals, desires, and routines that once defined you are now like worn-out garments, comfortable in the past, but restrictive for the person you are becoming. Trying to revive them will only create friction, a sense of misalignment between who you were and who you are now evolving into. Jung emphasized that this numbness is a natural and necessary part of psychological transformation, a signal that the old ego is stepping aside to allow space for the new self to emerge. It is the internal voice reminding you that you cannot go backward to reclaim a version of yourself that has already dissolved. Instead, this is the time to embrace the uncertainty and the unfamiliar, to step into the uncharted territory of your own potential. It is uncomfortable because it challenges deeply ingrained patterns of safety and familiarity, yet this discomfort is exactly the bridge to growth. The numbness, the quiet emptiness, and the sense of misalignment are not signs of failure. They are invitations from your unconscious to release what has ended and prepare for the emergence of a richer, truer, and more authentic life that awaits beyond the old self. As transformation deepens, one of the most profound signs you may encounter is the sudden and heightened awareness of your own darkness. You start to notice the parts of yourself you had long ignored or buried. The fear, the anger, the unresolved hurt that has quietly shaped many of your choices. Shadows from the past, moments of shame, pain, or trauma that you thought were long gone, begin to rise to the surface in waves. It may feel overwhelming, as if these emotions are flooding in all at once, making you question your stability or sense of self. Many people panic at this stage, mistakenly believing that they are losing control, becoming worse, or somehow regressing. They try to push these feelings away, distract themselves, or hide from the intensity of what is emerging inside. But Carl Jung viewed this stage differently. He believed that facing these shadows is not a sign of collapse, but of awakening. Confronting your inner darkness requires courage, and it is precisely a mark of strength rather than weakness. These emotions are the language of the unconscious, signaling what needs attention, healing, and integration. They are not here to harm you, but to guide you toward wholeness, showing you which parts of yourself have been neglected or denied. By allowing yourself to witness this darkness without judgment, you create the space to understand and embrace it. You begin to recognize patterns of thought and behavior that no longer serve you, and uncover the depth of your true self hidden beneath layers of fear and avoidance. The rising shadows may feel uncomfortable or frightening, but this discomfort is essential. It is an invitation to step into your own depth, to integrate what you once feared, and to transform it into strength, insight, and authenticity. By facing the darkness, you are not losing yourself. You are reclaiming the parts of your soul that were waiting for recognition and integration, moving closer to a more complete and liberated version of yourself. During this period of transformation, you may begin to notice moments in your life that feel strangely disconnected, as if events and emotions are happening without clear reason or connection. Sleep may become irregular or restless, and you may start experiencing more vivid dreams, sometimes strange, sometimes even frightening. These dreams are not random or meaningless. Carl Jung emphasized that dreams are the voice of the unconscious, communicating in a symbolic language that your conscious mind often struggles to understand. You might dream of things dissolving, abandoned places, unfamiliar roads, or people you cannot identify, And these images are not merely the product of imagination. They are reflections of your own inner world. Each dream carries a message, a clue, a story about aspects of your psyche that are calling for attention. The unconscious uses symbolism because it speaks a language deeper than words, one that is felt rather than logically understood. Through these dreams, you are being guided to see parts of yourself that have been hidden, ignored, or suppressed. You may notice recurring themes that evoke strong emotion, moments that leave you puzzled upon waking, or scenes that feel eerily familiar yet unfamiliar at the same time. Jung believed that these dream experiences are essential markers of psychological transformation, signaling that the old ego is cracking and new understanding is emerging. By paying attention to these dreams, reflecting on their symbolism, and noticing how they relate to your waking life, you begin to uncover the deeper patterns and truths within yourself. Instead of fearing these dreams, consider them a tool for self-discovery. They are the unconscious inviting you to listen, to learn, and to integrate the hidden parts of your psyche, guiding you toward a fuller, more authentic life. In this way, even unsettling dreams become a bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. One of the most challenging signs of transformation is the deep inner conflict you begin to experience. On one hand, there is a strong desire to change, to move forward, to leave behind the patterns and habits that no longer serve you. On the other hand, there is a simultaneous fear of change, a hesitation to release what is familiar, even if it is no longer aligned with who you are becoming. You may feel torn between the comfort of the past and the uncertainty of the future, unsure whether stepping forward will bring liberation or further struggle. Carl Jung described this as the process of separating from the ego, a crucial stage in personal evolution that many call an identity fracture. It is as if you are standing on the edge of a new world, filled with possibilities and growth, while your feet remain rooted in the ground of your old life, the soil that once supported and protected you. This tension is not a weakness. It is a sign that transformation is actively unfolding within you. The old self resists letting go because it has been your primary source of identity and security for so long. Meanwhile, the emerging self pulls you forward, urging you to embrace authenticity and deeper alignment with your soul. You may feel emotions ranging from fear and doubt to hope and excitement, often fluctuating in rapid cycles, and this is entirely natural. Jung believed that such internal friction is necessary for growth, as it forces you to confront the truth about yourself and make conscious choices about who you wish to become. By sitting with this conflict, instead of avoiding it, by acknowledging both the fear and the desire to grow, you begin to integrate your old and new selves. The inner struggle, while uncomfortable, is a powerful signal that you are moving toward a life that is more aligned with your true nature, paving the way for clarity, strength, and freedom that could not have arisen without this tension. As you go deeper into your transformation, you may begin to notice a subtle but persistent shift in how you relate to the people around you. Conversations that once felt engaging may start to feel shallow or uninteresting. Old friendships and connections may begin to loosen, and you might feel a sense of separation, as if you no longer belong in the same rhythm as before. This can feel unsettling, and at times even lonely, because the world around you seems unchanged while you are evolving in ways that others cannot yet perceive. Yet, this feeling is not a sign that you are losing yourself or that you are disconnected from reality. On the contrary, It is a natural part of detaching from an old level of understanding and stepping into a new level of psychological maturity. You are simply outgrowing certain patterns, relationships, and social dynamics that once supported your former self, but no longer align with who you are becoming. The people who continue to resonate with your evolving energy will naturally remain in your life, and new connections will emerge that match your emerging frequency and inner growth. This stage is about recognizing that not everyone around you needs to change for you to evolve. Sometimes, growth requires you to move forward while others stay behind, and that is perfectly natural. It is also an invitation to examine your inner world and align more fully with your values, desires, and authentic self. By honoring your inner shifts instead of resisting them, you begin to cultivate clarity and discernment in choosing relationships that truly support your growth. This process may feel uncomfortable, but it is essential for your evolution. You are not abandoning anyone. Rather, you are creating space for yourself to step into a more authentic, empowered, and expansive version of life. By doing so, you allow both yourself and those around you to find their proper place in the new landscape of your being. No matter how chaotic, confusing, or even frightening these signs may feel, they are all pointing to a single, profound truth. The old ego is collapsing to make room for rebirth. Every emotion, every restless thought, every sense of discomfort is a signal from your inner self, telling you that something fundamental must change. Carl Jung believed that this psychological death is not just a stage in personal growth. It is the most important step on the path of individuation, the journey of becoming your true self. The old ego, which has served as your guide, protector, and identity for years, is no longer capable of carrying you into the life your soul is ready to live. Its collapse may feel like losing control or facing an overwhelming void, but in reality, it is an opportunity to step into a larger, more authentic version of yourself. The process is inevitable, whether you resist it or not, because the unconscious is always working to align you with your true potential. When the old ego breaks down, it creates space for clarity, freedom, and a renewed sense of purpose. It allows you to release the layers of habit, fear, and conditioned responses that no longer serve you, making room for new ways of thinking, feeling, and being. This moment, though rare and often uncomfortable, is a threshold that few people consciously recognize. Those who do acknowledge it gain the chance to transform profoundly, to reconnect with parts of themselves that have long been hidden or denied. It is a call to step beyond the familiar, to face uncertainty with courage, and to embrace the opportunity to become more fully alive. In the collapse of the old ego, there is the promise of renewal, a chance to rebuild yourself from the foundation of your authentic self. This is not a loss, but a necessary passage toward the wholeness that awaits on the other side. Human beings often go to incredible lengths to avoid facing the truth about themselves, even when it is right in front of them. This resistance is not based on logic or reason. It is not a conscious decision, but a deep-rooted psychological pattern that has been formed over many years, often originating in childhood. From a young age, we develop unconscious structures in our minds to protect ourselves, to survive, and to feel safe. These structures create a version of ourselves that we cling to, even when it no longer serves our growth. It is not that this old self is necessarily good or healthy, but it is familiar. Familiarity provides a sense of comfort, even if it is limiting or harmful. Over time, our brains become addicted to this familiar version, repeating old habits, thought patterns, and reactions because they are known and predictable. This is why change feels so difficult, why personal transformation can be frightening, and why we often find ourselves returning to old patterns even after we consciously decide to move forward. Carl Jung emphasized that much of human suffering comes from this unconscious attachment to the old self, to the aspects of our personality that are no longer aligned with who we are meant to become. The addiction to our old ways keeps us stuck, constantly circling back to the same fears, anxieties, and limitations. Yet, recognizing this pattern is the first step toward liberation. By understanding that our attachment to the old self is a survival mechanism rather than a personal flaw, we can begin to approach ourselves with compassion rather than judgment. This awareness allows us to gradually loosen the grip of the familiar and create space for new experiences, new ways of thinking, and new emotional responses. Transformation is not about erasing the past, but learning to step beyond the confines of what we once relied upon to survive and thrive in the life that is waiting for us now. Your old self is like a song that has played for years. Even if the melody no longer fits, your mind knows every beat and pause. The brain clings to familiarity, choosing the old track over new possibilities, even if the new one could transform your life. Growth requires stepping beyond this comfort, leaving the predictable behind. By recognizing that the old patterns no longer serve you, you create space to explore the unknown. It is here, beyond the familiar, that your true self begins to emerge, ready to live fully and authentically. After everything you've realized today, after seeing the layers of your old self and the signs your inner world has been sending, the question is simple but powerful. Are you truly ready to let go of the person you used to be and step fully into the life your soul has been calling for? Or will you hold on to what is familiar, even if it no longer serves you?